Well, hello everyone. You have right here talk about right here of talk about like for the environment, and basically that you see right here of talking about for the types of ways about how to relieve any type of fears, such as it's like if it's going to be what you call anything that we may be concerned about, especially and like talk about say for the environment, and basically that like you have right here for like any type of surroundings though. But you see right here is that I went ahead and drew an example right here of like an airplane right here. And with this airplane right here that used right here a little bit with the green right here, but have right here is that with working right here with the block brush. But anyway, but you have right here is example right here of an airplane. And while I was working this, I was also thinking about, well, if I want to go ahead and add to, like, say, the activity for the gold monument, but I was also thinking about, like, for world map as well. So if anybody who's going to be students that they're like worried to where that, yeah, that the first thing that think about is to where that if they can remember, from their first birthday and like with anybody that anything that you may see on a greeting card, especially that could like include like something like maybe a bus or maybe an airplane or maybe anything such as anything what you call amazing. But you see right here is this airplane right here. I went ahead and designed right here, and I'm like, yeah, I drew this picture right here, and like with anybody that you're like wanting to where that if they were to see something like this, especially on the birthday cake, and think about it as like for really about if it's going to be like maybe a model or if it's going to be just what you call something on the candle or something like that. But on the other hand, I talk about say for environment though, it's like something to help get us get our minds off of the stress and off the pressure about us to where that anything about that comes to like fear and like and usually the way I put it is to where that anything to where that I kind of what you call I try to think of something maybe like I try to laugh and try to think of something to cheer me up as well. And especially with me though, for me being a student and think about us to where like with anybody that if they will be anywhere like anywhere away from home especially. And I know that a lot of times that if it's going to be like say anywhere away from home, and sometimes that you're like warrant well where like anything that we're used to doing at home that we may wonder is to where if there's like an easier way of how to bring that we work along with us is to where that make us feel at home, so that way that we won't feel very uncomfortable with something especially. So you have right here this example right here of an airplane, and I know like with quite a few times that anybody like warned to where like with airplanes and besides, which to say is that the fears about what we may have heard on the news, especially. But on the other hand, that you talk about here is like for safety travel wise, if it's going to be weather or something, something that more likely is to where that makes it feel more comfortable with like if it's going to be air travel or maybe if it's bus travel or traveling by automobile. And whenever we do graduate and get our certificate and we're like learned to where that kind of like which says that whenever that we want to go ahead and hide away from all this stuff is to where that a lot of stuff that's going on, and you're like learned to where anything that more likely it seems is to where that other people are looking at your work and think about is to where that anything that more likely requires you to travel especially. But you have right here are some examples right here of when I was a young or just a baby and like learned to where that yeah that a lot of stuff that try to remember understand and know is by is to where whenever you first start preschool that was what you call that new source of environment too, is to where being around all those kids as well as the teacher. But then whenever you graduate and get an actual career and you're like learned to where you have right here is the airplane right here, the airplane that more likely represents like yeah that you may have had plenty of those model airplanes, but then think about seeing an airplane in real life. And I know like since I was a kid that I kept wondering about while I was in the backyard those couple years ago. I can remember seeing those airplanes in the sky and thinking that they were like what you call those little miniature toys. But until anybody say that right, why don't you ride on one of those? You have right here is this bird right here, and I know most of us probably know is like for birds. that like knowing about you for where they fly to, around the world. You have right here is example right here of a globe, like you have right here is a world. But talk about like the basic meanings for like environment though, and environment basically means like for like your surroundings, if we want to call it surroundings. But then on your hand, another meaning could be is toward that you're trying to get used to those surroundings. So let's just say that for like anybody that they may learn to where that getting on an airplane, of course, it's not like which it may feel like a roller coaster, but then think about it to where that anywhere that you could be flying to. And that's just the thing about me is to where that whenever I do graduate and think about is to where they have right here is the map of the world right here, and I didn't include all those details, but just some of those about these pieces right here is that with like the map of the world right here, and like with anybody that whenever you do graduate, you are pretty much what you call like in a job, and this job that more likely is to where that anywhere around the world that more likely that you may go to. And some that may say that after you complete maybe 2 years or so, or maybe 3 years, and then a job that you may look into getting requires at least 4 or 5 years or so completed. So you're like word to where that just take up one thing at a time, especially, but then knowing about how much money that needs to be saved up, especially, and what could be managed as well. So maybe not everything is going to be what you call paid for on your hand, but then on your hand that you're like Warren to where whenever I think about this too is to where that if I'll be, it's like you may wonder to where that that you're going to have it to where looking at an airplane, looking at maybe a hot air balloon, or maybe anything about maybe anything that requires traveling or anything like that, or any device like if it's going to say by mobile or your laptop or something like that, and you're like worried to where hey that and all about to try to get used to the changes to the environment that's going on, and trying to get adjusted to where how everything's working, especially. So sometimes it just helps just trying to get my mind off of all the stress and anxiety, and then thinking about it to where that getting used to where that thinking of something that on your mind to where you feel more comfortable with as well. But do you have right here like talk about this right here with an airplane right here, airplane example. And if anybody were warned to where, like, sure is a beauty, isn't she? And knowing about, I'm like, that, for this airplane right here, if it would have been, parked somewhere. And I know with me, though, for my first time getting on an airplane, and anybody that may warrant, where they may ask, you're not afraid to fly, are you? Like, and well, yeah, well. Here's something like this, so I'm gonna be flying by myself, or like if I'm gonna be flying for maybe a group of other people that I may not know especially. But they have right there talking about for the environment. Basically is toward it, anything anything that's going on, and the things that's going on that you're not quite adjusted to. It takes you a few seconds just to realize about really what's going on with like the environment, to where if it's traveling or if it's going to be anything about going outside, or it's like it seems like to where that by the time you leave home and go somewhere else, it just seems like it's takes a few seconds just to adjust to knowing about what's going on. So sometimes we weren't, or what does that usually mean about from how our brain and our mind work about knowing about how to get adjusted to that. But I heard that talk right here, say we're ways about how to tell about the environment. Many make 25, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.